Hello, Captains. Welcome back to the channel. It's time to pop some bottles around here, and one specifically that we're going to be taking a look at is the Champagne, which is the French premium battleship at Tier 7 with a very unique layout with its turrets. If you're unfamiliar with it, we're going to do a deep dive on this ship and take a look at everything from the commander to the stats, and then a couple of gameplays, and I'll give you my thoughts along the way. So without further ado, let's take a look at a very different commander that you're probably not thinking about. But just before you get your pitchforks out, just understand that I have a very specific reason why I chose this commander for me. Now, you can use many commanders, but this is the one that I thought might work best, and I'll explain my reasons why. So let's take a look. All right, let's be honest. How many thought that I was going to be picking Fournette, which is the generic Dewey commander for the French commanders, the free-to-play ones? Now, I've spec'd into speed and a little bit of accuracy, but fire chance, detectability, again, speed, and reaching out, with my last legendary perk being fully packed. You'll understand why in a minute. The mod selections, we've got aiming systems mod 1 in the first, again for accuracy, propulsion in the second. Third, we're doing concealment systems mod, and in the last one, main battery mod 3. Now, onto the consumables themselves, our damage control party. 15-second duration, and you get it back in 75 seconds thereabouts. You have 4 repair parties, which are actually pretty decent. And here's why I chose fully packed. 3 main battery reload boosters in the game, along with 3 engine boosts that give you an 8% better speed that lasts for 3 minutes. On to the actual ship stats themselves. With this build, our survivability is at 57,100 hit points with a 28% torpedo damage reduction. Now, this is not that impressive when it comes to a battleship at Tier 7. It's actually a little on the lower side. Onto the artillery. Again, a very unique layout. You only have 6 guns. 3 in the front and 3 in the back. 2 turrets, but they're 406 millimeter guns. Firing range is a little over 19 kilometers, and you get them every 24 seconds. But look at the fire setting chance. 51% chance to set fires. When I tell you this thing is a fire slinging menace, I mean it. It can set fires like nobody's business. So on to the AA defense, which I think is not the strong suit of this ship. For a French battleship, and I'm thinking of like the Jean Bart, which has a 100 rating and is very good with its AA, this kind of takes a backseat to that. So it's not the best AA ship. The maneuverability, though, our base speed is at 38.6 knots with this build, with a 14-second rudder shift time and an 850-meter turning circle radius, but that 38.6 can be improved upon for 3 minutes with the engine speed boost, making this a very good flanker. And to even help with that, our concealment is down to 12.4 kilometers for a battleship, which is phenomenal. So you can really get out on flanks if you need to, making this really sneaky. Now, here's the armor scheme, which is not really that uncommon from most of the battleships that you're going to face at Tier 7. It's got a very predictable 32 millimeters pretty much all throughout the ship. But that also means that the HE spam is a real thing against you, and you can take constant HE damage. Angling appropriately will help you survive longer against AP shells. And your citadel sits just above the waterline, and it extends from the front to the back turret. All right, Captains, here is the first of 2 games. We're on Sleeping Giant, and we are spawning across from Charlie. We're by ourselves. We have a couple of divisions, and this is a Tier 7, Tier 6 lobby, so we do have the benefit of being top tier. And again, because of our speed and our low detectability, we want to get out on the flanks. Now, the one downside being spawned right here is that there's not much of a flank to really get out on for this specific map. And I don't dare go to the opposite side of the map. I have too many people yell at me. But the one unique thing about this map, which love it or hate it, this side pretty much gets focused really heavily. A lot of ships come to this side, mainly because the island chain that runs north to south between Bravo and Charlie seems to create almost two naval battles for this map, especially during the early part of the game. You're going to find that a lot of ships kind of congregate on the right side of that those vertical island chains, and like I said, a naval battle will ensue. And then the rest of the ships, if any, are going to be on Alpha and Bravo. It's just a very weird map. I don't like it because anything that's caught out there is going to receive a lot of attention. As you can see, this poor cruiser out here is about to find out. If you stay flat broadside, kind of like what I'm doing, you're going to get focused pretty heavily. And this is where I make a bit of a mistake. I'm spotted because I shot at the Gneisenau, and this Georgia took a shot at me, and I noticed the shots in the air a little too late, and I take a nasty hit, and then I take another one, further reinforcing the fact that if you're not paying attention, especially in the early part of the game, and you're flat broadside against a bunch of targets like this, you're bound to get wrecked. And thankfully, I didn't get nailed nearly as hard as I probably should have, but I kind of learned my lesson, and now we're kind of taking a bit of a kiting position. We're not going to be going balls to the wall to get to the back corner of the map, but like I said, if you see on the map, a lot of ships are over here on both the reds and blues. Not many have gone towards the side of A, and that's a common theme here. Notice that we just get 2 fires in the Georgia because our fire setting chance on this ship is just that awesome. But we have a lot of ships to contend with over here, and we have to rely on our team, especially our 2 destroyers, to try and take Charlie away from the Z-23, who is parked behind that island and is doing a great job of taking Charlie Cap right now. Unfortunately, this is going to be an area of contention, and it's going to prolong this match just a little bit longer. So nobody ends up going towards Bravo, which I feel is a bit of a mistake. This Georgia is so low and almost dead, but he is trying to retreat back to behind that island, which will give him, which will break line of sight and give him a chance to recoup the health that he lost by making that play. So although he did take a nasty chunk off of us, like 90% of his health is gone. So I don't know if that was necessarily a decent trade, but it was a trade nonetheless. Pay attention to these salvos that we get. We're getting fires pretty consistently. And I know that fire spamming in battleships isn't necessarily what you really want to do all the time. But for this particular ship, I don't blame you if you want to focus solely on fire. But you do have 406 millimeter shells. And when you have those broadside targets, whether it's a battleship or a cruiser, you still need to be shooting AP against those broadside targets. Now, as we're still waiting for this game to kind of develop, as the ships have now tied themselves, let's talk about the turret layout. It's not the best, especially when you have a bunch of different French ships at your disposal. You have the Jean Bart, you have the Richelieu, which are both essentially the exact same ship, except the Jean Bart has the reload booster that the Richelieu doesn't have. But all of their firepower is located in the front, meaning that there really is no need to turn your ship to expose your broadside if you're engaging a target in front of you. Same, I would even say, as the Flandre, although it's in a more traditional layout with 6 guns in the front and 1 in the rear and 3 turret formation. But when it comes to this ship, there are a couple of French battleships that I can think of. You have this one. You have the Gascon, which we will be featuring here soon. And then you also have the Republique, which is at tier 8, with I will say right off the bat, the best of all of those being the Republic, because of the guns, the armor. They're just, that ship is just phenomenal. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for the Gascon, and the Champagne is kind of hit or miss. Some people swear by this ship, and some people can't stand it. But somebody wanted to know more about it or to get my thoughts or opinion on it, so that's why I'm doing this video. It's not a ship that I go to regularly. However, for the specific missions that you have in this game, if you need fires, I would definitely recommend this as not maybe necessarily my top pick, but definitely one that is interesting and can work. However, enough about the turret layout. It's just not one that makes this a very easy play style. It forces you to have to expose a little bit of angle in order to get your full firepower off, and your full firepower still is less than what most of the battleships that, well, the traditional battleships that are in the game currently have. So, got to keep that in mind. Sometimes more shells going down range is better than having fewer accurate ones. The other ship that I can think of is the Georgia in that mindset. You only have 6 guns for that one as well. However, they are 18-inch shells, so that does help. Back to the game itself, our destroyer is trying desperately to take care of the Z-23, who was a little bit of a menace earlier, has made his way all the way out here on the flank. We are able to really cripple him pretty hard, but unfortunately our destroyer went down. We're left with only the Moss left as a destroyer for our team, and the Z-23, which again has gone unspotted and is very low on health. I believe that the Moss recognizes this and decides to go after this guy, as we are now set on fire twice. And normally I would start to damage con this, but I'm scared for torpedoes that could potentially come in and cause a permanent flood, which they are coming in, but our speed is that in which we don't have to worry about taking those. So as soon as I realize I'm out of danger, I pop it along with my heal, which is a little respectable. It gives you a lot of your health back, which is very helpful considering you don't have a high health pool to start. However, the Suzuya out there, along with the Georgia, who's been hiding ever since he got whacked pretty hard at the beginning of the game, is definitely a nuisance. This Suzuya has, well, been hiding successfully and taking free shots at us with the help of the spotting that he's gotten, but he is basically enemy number 1 for us, and we need to take him out. Our Moss does a great job at taking out the Z-23, and very quickly you're going to see that the ship count is about to become a 4v4 right there. However, because of the cap situation, we are now entering the late game, which is where you have to start thinking about the win condition. We are pretty drastically down on score. We are currently taking over Alpha Cap, which is good. However, the fight over Charlie has largely been won. Those 2 ships that are still behind the island, they need to just, if they're going to stay back there, then we need to start making our way in order to get Bravo Cap. That's what I'm thinking at this point, and I'm positioning myself in a way in which we can help take Bravo Cap while still protect Charlie. The Suzuya, recognizing that they need this cap and that the destroyer is still out here, is a problem. We take a shot, and unfortunately our back turret hits the island, and we connect with 2 of the 3 remaining shells, but they're overpens, which I found is a bit of a theme. It was very frustrating in this game that we were just not able to get the shots that we wanted on the Suzuya. And this ship boasts to have really good accuracy, and I'm not saying that it doesn't, but because you only have 6 shells, that it just doesn't feel quite as accurate as a ship that has 9 or even 12. Sometimes having quantity is better than quality, but when you get those really, really good salvos, you kind of wonder, does it really need all those shells? Well, that's RNG for you. It's hit and miss. Now, fortunately, we have been able to jog the ship count heavily in our favor. We still have our destroyer that's alive. However, he is on life support, and so I'm just waiting ever so patiently for our destroyer to spot the Suzuya so I can potentially get a devastating hit on him. And waiting this long, I'm still looking at the score, and we are just outside of taking the lead at this point. They had done a really good job of jogging the score in their favor early on, making us having to play catch-up. And looking at all this, I wanted to start capping Bravo because it definitely needs to happen in order for us to really secure the win. And I wasn't sure if our destroyer was going to be alive long enough. We only had this one shot really at our disposal to try and take him out. We do take that shot out there, and the accuracy looks absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, our destroyer does go down like I feared, and we weren't able to get the hit that we wanted, and we kind of miss out on citadeling him, even though he was flat broadside, and I felt that we aimed it rather well. So now we are stuck in getting the cap, because we are down in score yet again. So this is the winning play. As much as I want to stay out there and take shots at the Suzuya, he has a much better DPM, and his shifting rudder can make our life miserable if we were to be exposed. So as much as I want him dead, I really don't want to throw this match. Now here, I don't think we make a mistake. It's just a little unfortunate that the Georgia pops his plane, and when he does that, we get spotted because of that plane. Now we were behind island cover, and unfortunately, as the goes down to 1 second to 0 seconds to take the cap, the Suzuya gets a cheeky hit over the island and sets us on fire and resets the cap. And our battleship behind us is telling me to get back, which I am trying to do. But it did delay us in getting the cap, as they are now starting to get Charlie. I don't think I misplayed that. I just think I got a little unfortunate with the fact that the Georgia popped his plane. It was good timing on his part. But thankfully, we are able to get the cap finally. And now the points are going to start in our favor for the first time. And it's at this point where I realize pushing out to try and take out the rest of these ships would be stupid. We have the ship count lead. We have the score lead. And even though we're technically losing Charlie, which we worked so hard for, we will, even with them taking Charlie cap, we have a 2 cap to 1 advantage. Meaning there's no reason to really come out here. Although you can kind of see in the moment, I'm battling my inner demons at this point going, I really want to go out there and shoot these things, but I know that that's not the wise and smart play, and I keep wanting to go forward, and then I'm like, no, I shouldn't do that. So just know that I really struggled internally in this moment because the Suzuya and the Georgia both kind of made my life a little miserable early on, and I really wanted some personal payback. Speaking of bad moves, apparently this Hawk didn't have exactly the same reservations that I had and almost got one tap by the Georgia as he lost all of his health. So at this point, I'm like, with less than a minute to go, I have to potentially go out here in the last second. If this Hawk goes down, we could have the score flipped and lose in the last second. So that's why I'm kind of moving out here, not because I want to, but because I feel like I have to. And there's the Suzuya. We take a shot, yet again, get 3 overpins on a broadside Suzuya at 5 kilometers away, and he gets away, sets us on fire again, you cheeky bastard, sets torpedoes off at us, and we're not able to get it, but the silver lining meaning we do win the match. So those two ships did eventually, well, they won the battle, but they lost the war, in my opinion. So a little salty that I wasn't able to take them out, but we did win. Okay, captains, this is game number 2 on the map North. There are no divisions, and this time it's a Tier 7, Tier 8 lobby. So where we were top tier last time, we are not on this one. And if you notice, there are carriers involved in this match. So we get to see exactly how good our AA defense is. And I'll let you know right now, the carrier does pester us on this side, so you're going to get to see that. Plus, a little bit of a caveat and a note. This battle is not with the commander from the first game. This game, I used AL Dunkirk, which is the Azur Lane premium commander that allows you to change your shell type essentially from HE to AP once all of your shells are fully loaded in 1 second. I didn't have the build at my disposal whenever I was making this video, but I just wanted to let everybody know on the front end, this is essentially a full reload build using AL Dunkirk as the commander, and it has the specific skill that allows this ship to change its shell type in a second when all of the shells are fully loaded. So I just wanted to clarify that off the bat. And you're going to see just how different, if there is any, in the accuracy between this and the other commander that I was using. I don't really see a whole lot of difference when it comes to the accuracy. And the fire chance is still really good. Except I believe I miss out on 3% on my fire chance. So instead of it being 51% for setting fires, it's at 48%, which is still phenomenal. So here onto the game itself, we have a fire spammer in the Cleveland out here. We do have a plane that is right above us. And we do have a couple of other ships out there, including the Bismarck. And the Vanguard is starting to make his way over here. Plus, there is a ship in the cap itself capping, so the only destroyer is on this side, and there he is in the Sumner. I guess it goes without saying it is a target-rich environment and a very highly and hotly contested area over here, as there's no fewer than 5 ships, not mentioning the carrier. So we have a whole lot of stuff going on over here at the Charlie spawn, which is why I'm kind of facing a little bit of away and trying to take these shots from range. And I'm sure you're probably wondering, well, if there's so much action going on over here, why haven't we taken Alpha or Bravo? Well, that's a great question. But let's see what we can get done. We've been able to preserve our health rather well as we get a double fire on that Bismarck way out there. And I believe the Bismarck immediately damages cons, so let's see if we can't set another fire on him. Unfortunately, the carrier takes out our front turret, so we're forced to kind of have to jog back to the right to try and get our rear turret back on target as we try to break line of sight. Unfortunately, we lose one of our ships, the first ship lost in this game after eclipsing 3 minutes. We take that shot with our back turret, and we are able to successfully set a fire. That's when we notice the constellation is right on top of our Hayate, so we try to get our shells turned around. We already had HE loaded, but again, because of the unique skill of this perk, we were able to immediately switch over to AP and shoot. Weren't able to get all of our guns on target, and we almost take him out, but the Ochakov finishes him off. And now we need to get in there and we need to take Charlie Cap. Bravo hasn't been taken yet. Alpha hasn't been taken yet. All of the action is over here on Charlie, and they have successfully taken it. So we need to get over here and take it out. And look at the grouping on that. This is not an accuracy build, but that just kind of shows that RNG can be with you or it can be against you. And this ship is accurate. But I just rather have a couple more guns because I just don't like the fact that you have 6 guns and this turret layout is not the greatest. Here we take a shot, and that kind of shows you the difference between a really nice tight grouping and a little bit of a sloppy one. However, one of those shells does end up finding its mark and it takes out the Bismarck. But that's a great example of one salvo looking really, really good, and then another one looking like, what the heck happened to you? So here we take a shot at the Vanguard, which I'll be honest was the wrong shell type at the time. I should have shot AP because he's flat broadside. I mean, we do get awarded a fire, but looking back on this, I should have switched to the AP and shot a full AP salvo. But a fire is a fire, and it is currently ticking. That's when we notice that the hipper's out here along with the carrier, which is boldly coming out, and we are now down 2 ships total. Now we're able to kind of jog back the score slightly, and that's when the Sumner decides to come back. I honestly thought that he was going to head towards Bravo. Maybe the carrier, or rather not the carrier, but a cruiser being in Bravo made the Sumner change his mind. I don't know the thinking behind it, but we are able to get a really good hit into the Sumner. And now we're going to try and finish him off as he does dump torpedoes our way. We do take a shot with our rear turret, and we are able to connect, breaking a couple of modules, but we only connect with one shell, as we are forced to back out yet again. We're being focused by the carrier, the Sumner, and after this Sumner is gone, we're going to show love towards that carrier who has, been annoying to say the least. Here we take a shot at the Sumner, who does end up going dark, and unfortunately we're not able to connect. However, the Ochakov pops his radar, spots a Sumner, and now is going to subsequently take him out. So we're going to go ahead and focus on the Implacable because he has been focusing us. We do shoot HE at the Implacable, and he does take a nasty whack right there. And this one sets a double fire on the Implacable, which is going to burn. But unfortunately, somebody else decides to take him out. Now, I know that there's going to be many people out there that are like, that was your kill, you should have had it. And you know what, to be honest, at the end of the day, I'd rather win. I'm not as big on kill, stealing, securing, whatever you want to call it. As long as we win the game and I feel like I've contributed, I look at that as a good game. But there are some instances where a ship is mine, I guess you could say, for all intents and purposes, and another player will kind of swoop in and take it, especially if you know that somebody's on a Kraken hunt. If you know that, then take the measures to try and help them get that. Here we see that the Hipper is still flat broadside, and even though he is focusing us, eventually RNG is going to catch up to you, and that Hipper found out the hard way. And here I was like, yeah, he's dead, and no, he's not. These shells, sometimes they just work in your favor, and then other times they don't. So, again, the Ochakov cleans him up, and that Ochakov is on a 4-kill streak. He just needs one more for a Kraken. I didn't realize that because I hadn't switched to the scoreboard mid-game in order to be able to know that. I just know, looking back on this video, that he is on a Kraken hunt. There we are able to get another Citadel and secure our Confederate medal. And as you can see, we've only taken down 4 planes. So, like I said earlier, the AA in this thing is not the greatest. Even though it's a 70 rating, and technically you should be taking out more planes, it's not that great of an AA ship, in my opinion. Can you get a clear sky with it? Sure. But you would have to really be focused heavily or clean up the junk planes like I just did there. This Brindisi is still flat broadside. We switch to the AP. We shoot high a little bit because he is kind of angled slightly out, and I thought he was dead yet again. We get 5 of the 6 hits, and they're all over pens. Ugh, so frustrating, which is enough to allow our Ochakov to clean up the Brindisi and secure his Kraken. So congratulations, Ochakov. A little bit of a junky Kraken, if I'm being quite honest, but a Kraken nonetheless. Here I'm going to speed it up because not much happens, as it's just the carrier it's the Veneto that's just left, And now that he gets taken out, that's the end of the battle. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, the Ochakov came in first because he had 5 kills, right? Nope, he did not. He came in second. Although he did well. I'm not saying he didn't do good, but it's not all about kills in this game. It's about what you do to contribute to your team, which is what is going to largely give you the XP, and that's how they're awarded. So, final thoughts on the Champagne. I don't think it's a bad ship. I think it's a little bit of a niche ship in that you can really spec into the fire chance and do really, really well with it. Plus, because of its speed and low detectability, you can flank with this thing rather well. However, the lack of guns and the turret layout make this a ship that most people are not going to enjoy. But for me, it's not bad. I would say it's middle of the road. I would grade it as a high C, low B if you were putting it on a, A to F scale. So thank you so very much, Captains, for watching. Thank you for being patient as I got this video out. And for the subscriber that wanted to see it, thank you for suggesting it. If you have any other ships that you would like me to feature on my channel, please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and like and share. I thank you so very much for all your support, Captains, and I'll see you in the next video. This is the USS Endeavor, signing off.